For months, Celtics fans were bracing themselves for something big, something uncomfortable, and something that felt unavoidable. Ever since the off-season chaos stripped Boston of its familiar front court and brought Anfernee Simons into the picture, there was a quiet understanding that his time in green might be temporary. Even as he played well, even as the team exceeded expectations, the math never stopped looming in the background. Contracts do not lie. Cap sheets do not have emotions. And eventually, reality always catches up. That moment arrived when the Celtics pulled the trigger on a trade that checked every internal box they had outlined, even if it left a large portion of the fan base squinting at their screens wondering whether this was really the move that would push the team forward. The Nikola Vucevic trade is not flashy. It is not exciting. It does not dominate highlight reels or jersey sales. But it is the kind of move front offices convince themselves they need to make. The kind of move that looks cleaner on a spreadsheet than it feels in your gut. From the moment Anfernee Simons landed in Boston during the summer, the writing was quietly forming on the wall. He was talented, productive, and quickly embraced by the locker room, but he was also sitting on a massive expiring contract worth nearly $28 million. That number mattered more than anything else. Boston was entering a season defined by restraint, by cost control, and by careful maneuvering around the increasingly punitive CBA. Losing Kristaps Porzingis and Al Horford left the Celtics thin at center, but keeping Simons at that salary never aligned with the broader plan. Even as he became a fan favorite, even as he delivered big moments during an overachieving campaign, the underlying assumptions never changed. He was valuable, and value in this league is meant to be converted, not admired indefinitely. As the trade deadline approached, reports began to crystallize around what Boston actually wanted to accomplish. According to league insiders, the Celtics had three non-negotiable objectives. First, they wanted to move Simons and slip under the first apron, freeing themselves from the most restrictive financial handcuffs. Second, they wanted to add a legitimate starting center, not a developmental flyer or a minimum contract stopgap. And third, they wanted to do all of this without sacrificing a first-round pick. That last condition was the most delicate. First-rounders are currency. They represent flexibility, future upside, and insurance against mistakes. Boston was determined to keep theirs. On paper, the trade they executed with Chicago delivered exactly what they asked for. Simons and a second-round pick went out. Nikola Vucevic and a second-round pick came back. No first-rounder was officially involved. The Celtics shaved roughly $6 million off their payroll for the season, dipped under the first apron, and added a veteran center with years of starting experience. From a purely transactional standpoint, it was efficient, calculated, and technically successful. But basketball trades are rarely judged solely by technical success. Context matters, timing matters, and perception matters, especially when the name coming back is a 35-year-old big man whose best years are clearly behind him. The immediate financial implications of the deal cannot be overstated. Simons's $27.7 million salary was a massive weight on Boston's tax situation. By replacing him with Vucevic's $21.5 million deal, the Celtics not only saved real money in the present, but more importantly, unlocked long-term roster flexibility. Dropping below the first apron eliminates a web of trade restrictions that can suffocate creativity. Suddenly, Boston can take back more money than it sends out in trades. Suddenly, the buyout market is fully open again, allowing the team to sign waived players whose previous contracts exceeded the mid-level exception threshold. These are not flashy benefits, but they are the kinds of advantages that can quietly shape a playoff run. Even if the Celtics make no additional moves, simply being under the first apron changes how the front office can operate. It removes friction. It restores optionality. In a league where flexibility is often more valuable than raw talent, that alone has significant value. Of course, Boston is still over the luxury tax, and completely ducking it would require even more uncomfortable decisions, possibly involving a rotation player like Sam Hauser or even flipping Vucevic again down the line. That would be a tough sell to fans, especially if the team continues to win. But if money truly is the driving force behind these moves, it remains a logical next step, even if it is not a popular one. From a basketball perspective, Nikola Vucevic is a deeply polarizing addition. He is not the kind of name that inspires excitement in 2026. At 35, he is well past his athletic prime. His defensive limitations are well documented, and in many advanced metrics, he He grades out as one of the weakest defenders at his position. He does not protect the rim at an elite level, he struggles in space, and he can be targeted in pick-and-roll coverage by the right matchup. These are real concerns and they are not going away. And yet, dismissing Vucevic entirely would be dishonest. He remains one of the league's best rebounders, both offensively and defensively. He is a reliable post scorer who can punish mismatches and force defenses to send help. He can stretch the floor just enough to keep opposing centers honest, knocking down open shots and facilitating from the high post. For a team that desperately needed a playable, experienced body at center, he represents stability. This season in Chicago, he started 48 games and averaged 17 points and 9 rebounds per night. Those numbers are not empty. They reflect a player who can still contribute at a meaningful level. Importantly, Vucevic is not being asked to be a savior in Boston. He is not the centerpiece of the future. He is not even necessarily guaranteed a starting role. In fact, there is a very real argument that Neemias Queta should continue to see heavy minutes, if not outright start, depending on matchups. What Vucevic provides is insurance, depth, and a different look. He is one of the 30 starting centers in the league, and for the price Boston paid, that matters. The most controversial element of this trade, however, revolves around the draft picks involved. Officially, the Celtics did not give up a first-round pick, and that was one of their stated goals. Technically, they succeeded, but the second-round pick they sent out is not just any second. It is a highly valuable selection originally belonging to the Pelicans, likely to land near the top of the second round. With New Orleans near the bottom of the standings, that pick is essentially guaranteed to fall within the top 35 selections overall. In a league where second-rounders at that level often carry near first-round value, the distinction begins to feel semantic. The pick Boston received in return only sharpens that contrast. It is not even Chicago's own second. It belongs to Denver and will convey in 2027. Given the Nuggets' current trajectory and the long-term security of their core, that selection is projected to fall near the very end of the draft, possibly in the high 50s. In terms of value exchange, the Celtics clearly downgraded their draft capital. They preserved the letter of their plan but arguably bent its spirit. This is where fan skepticism begins to make sense. From a purely factual standpoint, Boston achieved everything it set out to do. They moved Simons. They added a starting caliber center. They stayed away from officially surrendering a first-round pick. But the emotional reaction to the deal is harder to reconcile. Simons was productive and beloved. The incoming player is older, slower, and carries visible limitations. The draft pick swap feels lopsided when examined closely. And while the financial benefits are real, they are abstract to most fans, especially those focused on immediate on-court success. Brad Stevens and the front office are clearly operating within a specific philosophy. This team was not supposed to be this competitive this soon. They are playing with house money, and the goal appears to be maintaining competitiveness without mortgaging the future or triggering punitive financial mechanisms that could cripple roster building down the line. From that perspective, the Vucevic trade makes sense. It is conservative. It is controlled. It prioritizes flexibility over flash. But conservatism in the NBA often invites criticism. Fans want boldness. They want moves that signal belief, aggression, and championship ambition. Trading for a 35-year-old center while giving up a valuable second-round pick does not scream confidence, even if it quietly improves the team's structural position. This is the tension at the heart of the deal. It is smart in theory, uncomfortable in practice, and unlikely to be remembered fondly unless it directly contributes to meaningful postseason success. Ultimately, this trade will be judged not by what it accomplished on paper, but by what happens next. Does Vucevic stabilize the front court without becoming a liability in high-leverage moments? Does Queta continue to develop with less pressure on his shoulders? Does the newfound financial flexibility allow Boston to pounce on an unexpected opportunity, whether through the buyout market or a future trade? Or does this move simply fade into the background as a footnote in a season defined by cautious optimism rather than true contention? For now, the facts are clear. The Celtics checked every box they set out to check. They executed their plan with precision. Whether that plan was ambitious enough is a different question entirely. And that is where the debate truly begins. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the Celtics' latest move and want more honest, nuanced breakdowns of NBA trades, roster strategy, and front office decision-making, Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss an update. Let me know in the comments what you think about the Vucevic trade and whether Boston made the right call.